What's up, guys? There is some drama on the Warframe forums. It's entertaining and interesting, so let's kind of dig into it. This is all about the nerf to Vazarin. So Vazarin used to give 5 seconds of invulnerability to defense objectives and heal 60% of its total health pool over 5 seconds, which equates to tens of thousands of health over a span of 5 seconds. Because defense objectives typically have about 40 to 50,000 hit points at the upper levels, so it's a huge nerf to take that away, and they've taken it away. There's no more invulnerability. It heals for 500 health over 5 seconds, which is really like 0.1 or 0.2% of its health over 5 seconds instead of like 60% of its health over 5 seconds. It's a huge difference. But to be fair, it was busted overpowered. It was clearly overpowered. In addition to that, they opened the floodgates so that many other Warframes can now heal the defense objective where they previously couldn't at all. So if you wanted to heal the defense objective, you brought Vazarin or you brought Cora, and that's how you healed it. And other than that, there wasn't really any other option. Well, now there's tons of options, but they're all less powerful than what Vazarin once was. They all generally heal around 50 to 100 hit points per second. So you got, Vazarin itself, 500 over 5 seconds. 100 hit points per 1.5 seconds, 50 per second. That's shields. 500 health over 5 seconds. 100 hit points over 20 seconds, 3 hit points per second, and so on and so forth. So it's not a huge amount of healing, but they've picked what seems to be a lot of nice round numbers when they're doing it. 50 hit points to 100 hit points per second or so. When it comes to damage resistance, it's capped at 50%. So are people focusing on all the new benefits that are being added to the game, like all this access to healing and damage resistance that we have now, or are they focusing just on Vazarin getting nerfed? They're just focusing on Vazarin getting nerfed, and this forum thread is 9 pages long with many posts in response to it, and it's mostly bitching and complaining about Vazarin getting nerfed. So I have some things to say about that, and I posted up here. I said, hey, I'm not sad about this. I've got plenty of hours in the game. I'm pretty happy to see that they're doing this. And he said, well, I'm not representing everybody. And I go, okay, that's fair. I'd have to say I'm open to the idea that maybe they nerfed it a little bit too hard. Someone mentioned earlier that the numbers they picked, 50 hit points per second or 100 hit points per second, seems like a shot in the dark. And I agree. They probably just picked those numbers because they're round and they look nice. But do they translate well into regular gameplay? Well, that's a difficult question to answer, because how do you quantify things like fun, challenge, power level, etc.? It's hard to quantify that stuff. We just sort of go by feel for a lot of this stuff. But for me, I've said it before and I'll say it again and again and again. The game is too easy. It's way harder for new players starting out on the star chart, and the game sort of retains a certain degree of difficulty as you progress through the star chart because the enemies get higher in level, you slowly rank up your mods in Warframe, and the challenge matches your power level. But deep into the late game, you're godlike, and there's very little around to challenge you. Imagine being an all-star basketball player and destroying your competition again and again and again. Wouldn't you feel bored? Like, come on, that has got to feel stale after a while. Yes, the sensation of being rewarded godlike powers feels good for a while, and yes, it feels good to flex on hordes of enemies or whatever, but after a while it just gets stale. I don't think adding bigger numbers on enemies is the best solution, because it leads to this spiral of power creep where they buff the difficulty, and then they buff the player power, and then they buff the difficulty, and then back and forth. You wind up with a broken system that requires a massive rework like the armor scaling system, or a reworked Warframe like Vauban or Nyx. Anyway, I could go on and on about the subject, but for me, I think it's important to give Digital Extremes a pat on the back when they do something that might seem unpopular, but is good for the overall health of the game. And personal opinion alert, what's good for the overall health of the game is subjective. One person's opinion on that can be different from another's, but in my opinion, nerfing things can be good for the health of the game. And yeah, I know that makes my opinion extremely unpopular, but I gotta say, Digital Extreme Scott has a tough job. He's got to take away things that are broken OP, and people shit all over him like he's a war criminal. And then this person posted an edit right up here. In any case, the game is still easy, and the first thing to be done is nerf Xeneric, Arcane Energize again, Equilibrium, and Rage. Less spam abilities, more opportunities for mobs. And when I initially read that, I felt this kind of twinge, like, ooh, I don't know if I like that, because I like being able to spam my abilities. I like being able to cast them right off cooldown or maintain an aura at all times. But after thinking about it, I said, you're right. And yes, this is an unpopular opinion because it infringes upon the metric of fun factor. The old design in Warframe was that you couldn't spam your abilities and you couldn't heal easily. Health orbs and energy orbs were a rare resource. You had to conserve your energy and health, hide behind cover to protect your health while your shield regenerated, and made sure that you didn't waste your energy. This made Warframes like Trinity actually valuable because they regenerated these rare resources and significantly increased the power level of their teammates. But now, who the heck needs Trinity or Harrow or Oberon or whoever when you can just run Arcane Energize, Xeneric, Energy Generator, Magus Repair, Vazarin, and so on and so forth? Yes, Zelon, I agree with you on this. You're right. Warframe was a slower paced game back then. I don't mind a slower paced game. I've noticed this trend in the gaming industry in general where developers just speed their games up over time in order to cater to a bigger audience. Path of Exile is way faster now than it used to be. Star Conflict boosted the speed of their ships. Evolve was a highly criticized game for its slower paced playstyle. I liked it. There was a niche group of players that really liked the game as it was. And Turtle Rock Studios caved in to the criticism and turned their hunting simulator into a fast-paced Battle Dome arcade game, and the game died. And Warframe has followed along similarly with these other games by increasing the speed of gameplay to the point where it feels more like a racing game than a third-person shooter. Now, I'm not saying that Warframe is going to die because they're doing this. I'm just sort of painting these broad strokes and these changes in the industry I've seen where this trend where games start off at a slower pace and then they increase the speed and make it a faster paced game over time in order to cater to a larger audience. To some extent, to the detriment to the enjoyment factor for the players that liked it the way it was before. But take what you will from that. I'm just putting it all out there. It's something that I'd like to talk about. I wanted to make a video about Powercreep, and I've tried numerous times, but every time I do it, I just feel like I'm not doing it enough justice. There's so much to talk about on this subject, but maybe I'll just have to break it up into segments and maybe make a series of videos that talks about Powercreep. And my opinions on it are not completely cemented in stone. I'm not perfectly... I don't have a perfect opinion on this. I'm open to different interpretations and different perspectives on it. So if you have an opinion or perspective on Powercreep, let me know in the comment section below or share with others so that they can see as well. I'm curious to hear what you have to say. But regardless, thanks for watching. Take care.